How do you kill the Creaking in Minecraft? Well, it's easy. Sadly, this is only possible in creative or with commands, otherwise he has infinite health, but luckily you can get his drop without having to finish him off. This is one of the most useful items, and you can get it regardless of what weapon you use, so this is the one enemy you don't want to use a sword for, as you can sadly see right now. There are going to be 3 major parts to this guide, and I'm going to share each of those with you alongside 3 fun facts, and the third is very devious. If you want to troll your friends, be very careful about using this because it might just be a little too painful. Starting though, let's talk about how you can actually get/use resin, because as you noticed there, I was punching the Creaking, and somewhere in there we ended up with more of this resin on the pale oak around the Creaking heart. This Creaking heart is basically the mob himself. This is kind of just the physical manifestation, and that's why you don't want to use tools on him, because the mob can't die, only the block can. However, what the block can do is when the mob is hurt, it will summon more and more resin around it, and this resin can be harvested by hand or really with any tool you want to. You could use an axe if you felt like it, but you could also use a fist or anything else, and so you might as well do that just like with the thing, and this will allow you to get resin, which is useful for all sorts of different tools. By the way, watch out for the Creaking, he does follow you when you're not looking at him, so first things first, you can use this to make blocks. These are the blocks that you can make. There are 6 of them, 5 of them are purely decorative. Ooh, look at this, it's got something roughly analogous to his face on there. You can also use it to trim armor, you could use it to get 2 brand new items that aren't all that useful by themselves, or you can take the resin clumps and combine them to make this a block of resin. The block of resin is surprisingly cool because you can break it immediately with your fist, and this makes it a really good kind of scaffolding-like block because you can actually break it so quickly that you'll take full damage when dropping. As you can see right here, I'm literally falling faster than I can, making it great for spleef, and we kind of have blocks that do this right now with stuff like TNT, but the big difference is obviously the fact that TNT is going to explode and maybe be more dangerous and also significantly harder to get. So if you want a non-explosive, which might be a downside, if you want a non-explosive version of TNT that you can break very easily and also obtain very easily, this is your man to get. But how do you kill him when you're done with this? I mean, as you can see, I'm getting all of this resin, but once you have enough resin, how do you stop him being a problem? Well, there are actually some ways to kill the Creaking. Despite having infinite health, it is entirely possible to make him die, and let's give you the 3 simple ways. So way number 1 is obviously you can just wait till daytime. When daytime appears, when the sun rises, the Creaking immediately vanishes. To prove that to you one more time, here's nighttime. As you can see, the Creaking spawns in, and then here's daytime, he vanishes once more. He's kind of far away, but hopefully you saw that well. And so the obvious answer is if you had a magic machine that could switch the time of day, you would use that instead, but since this is Minecraft and we're assuming that you're playing in survival, well, that's not actually all that useful. So what should you do instead? I would say the next best thing to a magic machine that can tell you that it's nighttime is hiding in the surface somewhere, hiding somewhere away from the Creaking. Ooh, that's not working very well for me right now. And you can actually work out the time of day without needing a clock. Here's a fun fact you might not have known. If you just type in clock into your crafting recipe, you can actually get a fully functioning clock without ever having to craft one. This is great if you have a crafting table, but if you don't have one, then you can bring a clock around with you, and you don't need to waste an inventory space because the clock will also work when inside of a bundle. This is really cool in my opinion, that you can get all of the benefits of a clock without crafting one, and so if you see any darkness on this, you might want to watch out before going back to the surface. But otherwise, if you want to prevent the Creaking from spawning in the future, well, obviously the easiest way is break the Creaking heart. Again, like I mentioned, the easiest way to think about the Creaking is it's actually a block that has a physical defense mechanism, so if you break the block, well, there's not going to be any more mob. Wait. Oh, they took a few seconds there. So this is a slightly slower way, and it's a very sad way. I mean, I felt a little bit bad about what I did right there. Let's place this back down, and let's show you that one more time, because honestly, I don't think I've ever felt so bad about some murder I've committed in Minecraft. You know, he just wants to creak around and enjoy himself, and just look at that. Oh, man, I felt awful. So what's an easier way to kill something than to prevent it that way? Well, you can prevent it from spawning. If you remove the pale logs below it, then it won't actually remove the Creaking. So if you don't believe in murder, this is a great way to ensure that when the next daytime comes, which we'll simulate right here, and then the next nighttime after that comes, it won't reactivate. And so if you believe in ending life before it has been started, I know that's a hot political debate for some, but at least if there is no life, you can end it easily. And then you can reactivate it at will by just replacing that block in, but you can't unkill it. You can never kill a Creaking this way. You can only prevent it from spawning, which is is kind of a different question. Speaking of preventing it from spawning, at this point, let's move into the third big question of this video, because how do you farm the Creaking is going to be a big question that I know lots of people are going to ask, and I take a stance on this channel that even though farms are a very interesting thing, I would much rather learn about the fundamental mechanics, because that allows you to play around with it yourself. So let me give you a guide to some things that you might not have spotted about the Creaking in general. First, it has a very wide spawn radius. This whole platform, so it's 16 blocks any way away from the Creaking heart, and so this whole platform is a potential spawning platform for him. If I set it to day and then night to get him to respawn a few times, you can see that every time he spawns, he's going to pick an entirely different place. Right now, he's over past the redstone lamps. If we go to day again and then to night again, you see he's going to spawn over here, right in front of me, and then day again, night again, and where's he this time? The exact same spot, actually. Day again, night again, and this time, he's... I don't actually see him. Is he on the other? There he is. As you can see, entirely different spots every time. So if you have them just out in the wild, it's going to go pretty poorly for you. You'd have to block out these spawn spots somehow, and there are a few blocks that will allow you to do that. He will not spawn on a button. He will not spawn on a slab. He won't spawn on a transparent block, so glass or leaves, and he won't spawn on redstone. But he will spawn on light sources, so light will not prevent him from spawning. He will spawn on water, and so you could use these mechanics together, and I think the smartest way to think about this in your world, if you want to put together a Creaking farm, you know, is to think about the fact that the easiest way to prevent him from spawning would be to go up in the air. You know, think about this logically, right? If you want to have as few blocks possible where he can spawn, all you need to do is have it so that most of the blocks around are air. This means you could limit where he spawns, and then the only spot available could be in some water, and if you have a bunch of Creaking hearts around, you could use that to have a bunch of Creakings go into one place, and boom, you've got a way to get lots of resin very quickly. What's really fun about this farm, though, is even if you do the crazy efficient trident killer method, and if you're someone who's watching this and going, so Cat, did I really need to learn all of that? Well, let me say that if this was too basic for you, that even in that case, you've got to say like, oh yeah, this is an interesting Minecraft farm because it only works at night, which means it is a tricky one to line up in multiplayer worlds where people might want to sleep at night, and also it's one that you physically can't run 24 hours a day, which is at least slightly interesting if you ask me. If I go this way, do you think he'll walk along the redstone path to get to me? No, he won't. That's good. That's really reassuring to know. By the way, when you get far enough from them, they do just despawn, which I think is one of the saddest things. But the only thing sadder and the only thing worse for your multiplayer server and cooperation than having a Creaking, which just despawns, is one of the most devious things you can do, because on Bedrock right now, so most mobs are meant to have some features visible when invisible, but if you throw an invisibility potion at this guy, he goes fully invisible. You can only tell he's there when you punch him, which will make more resin spawn, by the way. So if you want to have an invisible Creaking farm, you can do that. And you can just about see his swells, but this means if you're just walking around, what's going to happen is you're going to get attacked. You're going to look around and be like, okay, I don't see anything there. And what's going to happen is over and over and over again, you're going to get absolutely wrecked by something you can't see and which can't die, just as a reminder. You have to look at something that you can't see to prevent it from killing you, and I think that is just perfectly devious if you feel like doing it. Speaking of things that are perfectly devious, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. This is part of the Ultimate Guide series that we do on this channel to guide you through some of the fundamentals of Minecraft. I think it's a fun way to learn about things, and it was done with the help of Chris, who put this world together. Oh, I forgot to plug the fact that if you want to learn more about Minecraft, you should definitely subscribe to the channel, and that is how you will do precisely that. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. He just entirely survives it. But I didn't survive it. It was a false flag attack, I tell you.